Welcome to the SECED Talks podcast. This episode is part of the series First Steps in Civil Engineering Dynamics. Each episode, we interview a young professional or academic who shares personal career journey and career advice, and hopefully motivates the next generation of civil engineers. Join us if you want to learn more about early career development. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Second Talks podcast. I'm Ludovica Pieroni, and I'm here today with Daniel Gilmore, who is going to share with us his career journey in civil engineering dynamics. So, without further ado, hello, Daniel. Thank you so much for accepting our invite. I am excited to have you here, and I'm looking forward to hearing everything from you. So, the floor is yours. Could you please introduce yourself and give us an overview about your current job and the company that you work for?
Yeah, so thank you very much for inviting me and having me on. It's an honour. So my name's Daniel Gilmore, as you said, and I work for Sellafield Limited as a structural analyst. So Sellafield Limited is a company that's government owned through our parent company, Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. And we are trying to decommission Sellafield site. Sellafield site is based up in Cumbria on the coast of the Irish Sea, around about 12 miles south of Whitehaven, and it's quite a large site, so it's 6 kilometres squared, so it's 3 kilometres long and 2 kilometres wide, and we have employ around about 11,000 people on the site and in our offices around Whitehaven, and then our design office in Morrington where I work. So the site has had a long history, so it's been in operation since the 1940s, initially as an ammunitions plant for the war, and then it became the site of to produce the nuclear materials for the atomic weapons program. We're also the site of the first, the UK's nuclear accident at the Windscale fire, the Windscale piles. But we've had many significant feats. So we've been with the site of the world's first commercial nuclear power station at Calder Hall. We've trials the advanced gas reactors that have gone dotted around the UK now. And as well, we've gone into reprocessing, into production of our own nuclear fuels towards the end. But now we're trying to kind of get the site now into a greenfield site. But that takes a long time because we're still accepting all the nuclear waste from nuclear power stations throughout the UK, as well as we've still not got a geological disposal facility, which is where we would long-term store all our waste, which is basically going to be a big cavern deep underground that will store it for many, many thousands of years to allow the waste to decay to a safe state. So So the main aim to this is to reduce the waste hazard of our site. So what we're trying to do is remove waste from our legacy buildings, which have been built in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, that are kind of like buildings of the era, showing signs of aging. And they present a bit of a risk to our site. So what we're trying to do is remove the waste, put it into secure boxes, and store those boxes into large, robust storage facilities around the site. As well as looking after some of our nuclear waste from our current nuclear power station throughout the country.
Wow, interesting. So for sure, a different perspective from the to the conventional like structural design and commercial buildings kind of thing. So highly specialized sector. For our listeners who might not be familiar with the nuclear sector, could you please tell us more about the project you deal with?
So I'm a structural analyst. It's a bit similar to like a structural engineer that's more specialised in finite element analysis. So we do a lot of problem solving, but we specialise mostly in finite element analysis, but also kind of other analysis techniques to try and assess against extreme events. So what we look at particularly is like earthquakes and impacts on structures. So for instance, there's a new storage facility that we're assessing it for a seismic event, 1 in 10,000 year seismic event. And as well, we do crane impact assessments. So this is looking at if cranes fall on some of our nuclear facilities, how would it stop the facility from functioning effectively? But we also do design development. So we've worked with project teams, design teams to kind of come up with new foundation solutions to save on reinforced concrete and excavated material, and kind of assessing it for all different kinds and making sure that the design's feasible.
Great, I see. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. So moving to a different topic, something that our listeners are super interested in, day-to-day work life. And like when you do university, you really don't know what a potential working day at the office might look like. So the question is, what are your daily tasks and responsibilities?
Yeah, so I think people do the cliche thing of saying that no day is the same in engineering, and it kind of similar sort of. I'm mostly in an office environment, interacting with other teams, but we have a lot of different tasks that we do. So we do some which are quite long-term tasks, like assessing structures, but we do kind of a lot of give a lot of day-to-day support to individual questions, doing assessments, small assessments, and we also as well, part of my role is to develop graduates. So we have graduates coming in through our training schemes, and we work to develop them to kind of bring them up on their skills on how to undertake element analysis, understanding a little bit about seismic analysis and how to do it, to apply it in a role. And we give support as well to some apprentices as well who are doing their studies.
Nice, interesting. So you mentioned that you work in a team. How's the team structured, and how people within the team interact with each other?
Yeah, so our team is kind of sort of divided into two. So we do civil kind of structures, which is looking at big buildings, and then we also have a mechanical side, which is focused on a lot of our storage boxes, other mechanical equipment, assessing them for all kinds of extreme events. And these are boxes that will store waste, but they have to be assessed against all kinds of different fault cases. So there's a mixture of civil engineers and mechanical engineers. But we both work together on different tasks, and we work quite collaborative. But most times we kind of have our own little job, our own individual task to do, but we'll work together. We also have quite a broad network of people to call on for advice as well.
Okay, great, thank you. So now we know what you do, that you do these like super interesting things, etc. But let's take a step back and go to the origin. Why civil engineering, and what inspired you to pursue a career in this field?
Yeah, so like many UK students, I did my GCSEs and A levels, and then went on to do a degree in civil engineering. So what pursued me to go into civil engineering was we've got a lot of family involved in construction. Particularly my dad was a site engineer and becoming site manager. And then he went on to be a lecturer at a local college. So I kind of got introduced to the world that way. As well as that, I quite liked from my A levels the application of physics and maths. That was always quite interesting to me. And as well, kind of one of my old maths teachers in my high school used to give me copies of the NC, maybe to try and attract me. I'm not quite sure as to what his aims were, but he was very, very appreciative of it. But reading that kind of like inspired me to kind of pursue it a bit more in the university, and then out into the professional environment.
I see. And what is the academic journey that led you where you are now?
Yes, so I did quite standard GCSEs in maths and science, but my A levels I chose maths, physics and geography, and that allowed me then to go to the University of Leeds doing civil and structural engineering as an MEng, where I did that for 4 years. In the middle of that, between my third and fourth year as well, I did a summer placement where I worked at the company as well, and then following my graduation, I went to work for them on the graduate scheme.
I see. I see. So, what was like the transition between from university to industry, and what was your first job? How did you find your first job?
So I found my first job on Grad Cracker, or like I think it was that at the time, but there's other job sites available. So I did a summer placement, which is 10 weeks working in between either your second and third year or your third and fourth year, where you go and work for the company for 10 weeks, paid experience, and you kind of get to learn a little bit of an introduction into how people do and design. And there's other things, there's other schemes available if people are interested. We do an industrial placement scheme as well, which is like a year out between your third and fourth years and your second and third, or your second and third year, where you work for a company for one whole year. People tend to do that. They tend to get a year in industry added onto their degree as a sign of their achievement. So I did a summer placement. At the end of the summer placement, I got an interview for them to assess if I kind of what I'd learned and how I was performing in my role. And then they were obviously quite happy. So they gave me a conditional offer. So what they said was that if you get a certain grade when you graduate, we'll take you on into your graduate scheme. So then went back to my final year of uni, achieved the grades, and then got my formal job offer role, and then kind of started working with them in September. And the graduate scheme is like a 2-year scheme of 6-month placements.
I see, great. So basically, you started with Sellafield Limited, and then you stick with it. You started with the summer placement, and then you did the graduate scheme, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, given that you have done the summer placement, do you think that was useful, and would you recommend it to undergrads?
Definitely recommend doing some kind of work experience placement. Some placement helped me a lot, understanding kind of how to work in what the world of work would be like after graduating. It also helped me a bit in my studies to kind of getting people with experience, so that you can kind of understand. It helped me learn a lot more, accelerate my learning. It's always good as well to have some earnings as well to come into your degrees at uni, so you've got a bit more money in the bank account. And then as well, the big thing was the relief of having an offer at the end. So even if I didn't take it, but in your final year, you've got all your exams, your coursework to do, but just knowing that there's something in the back pocket kind of gives you a bit of relief that you maybe don't have to pursue quite so many frantic job applications to jobs.
Sure. So I think we have already kind of covered this topic, but I think it's the main point of the podcast. So I would like to stress it. So you mentioned that Sellafield Limited has plenty of options for undergrads and graduate engineers. So do you want to tell us more about the hiring process and the calls and the requirements for those positions?
Yes, so we have. So I've talked about the industrial placement, the summer placement schemes. So the graduate scheme, you can apply to that directly. You don't have to have done any placement beforehand. For all of those schemes, you tend to do a phone interview and then an assessment centre, and then there's an application process on our website. The website for it is careers.sellafieldSite.co.uk, so you can apply to our placement schemes and graduate schemes there. Our graduate scheme for this year is starting on the 2nd of September to the 27th of October 2024. It's to try and improve. And then once the graduate scheme is as I said, 2-year placement with 6 months. For us, it's 6-month placements in different schemes, so you'd have to do some like free placements normally in design of different sorts, so like maybe infrastructure design, major project design, and then maybe working with myself in the analysis team, and then you do a 6-month placement on a construction site as part of your kind of getting towards your experience for chartership. If you do miss the opportunities, there's an email address on the website. If you do miss the time, just send an email and they might be able to fit you onto the scheme anyway. We also do degree apprenticeships for those that are doing A-levels who who may be looking at an alternate career instead of going to the university route. That's where you get paid whilst doing your degree, and I think their opening times around about October.
Great, great. So for those who are interested, go online and search for it, I would say. So about career development, after you got the job, what actions have you taken to progress in your career?
The placements helps a lot to kind of get a wide variety of experience in all different kinds of roles. Some things I did to kind of get ahead a little bit was become a STEM ambassador. That was quite encouraged. So going into schools and colleges and teaching about kind of helping the next generation kind of get involved into engineering. It helps a lot with my communication skills. We have IC groups within Sellafield, and trying to get involved in them and trying to be an active part of that really helped with the chartership process as well.
So let's change topic and let's talk about skills. What are the skills required for your job? And was the knowledge given at university sufficient, or you had to take a bunch of additional training?
So for the role that I'm in at the moment, it's a lot of research skills. We get given a lot of problems and it's not necessarily clear where the way forward is. So we've got to do a lot of research and kind of trying to apply what people have said into a practical answer. So at the moment, we're trying to look at a concrete box and trying to assess that for all different kinds of load cases. University is really good at giving you the theory, I think. How the practical application of it is difficult, and that's where the work experience comes into it. But I think it's always going to be hard because universities cover such a broad range of topics for all graduates that go, there's all different walks of life in civil engineering. So it's very difficult to kind of do. But yeah, when we find the graduates, they tend to be very good at the theory, and it's getting them to do the application of it. That's the hard thing. But that's what people can teach.
So you mentioned that you recently got chartered. So do you think it's important for a young professional to get qualified, and how many years does it normally take?
I definitely recommend people to get chartered. I think it's a good achievement to have as an engineer. It's a kind of a mark of your experience today. On the other side of it, a lot of companies kind of want to actively get you chartered, and in some cases going up the bands within a company structure can sometimes be limited if you're not chartered. I think the IC says it normally takes about 5 years to get chartered. Mine, it took a bit longer than that. It took 7 years. I think the advice it gives to people is just to try and keep on top of this, keep a schedule to it. That's something that I kind of lost a little bit during COVID, but if you keep to a schedule of, you've got to submit your quarterly report, so you've got to write about what you've done every 3 months or 6, submitting stuff onto your attributes. I think you'll do a lot well at 5 years or even shorter than that, really.
On this one, I would like to also underline that we do have a webinar which is recorded and available online on our YouTube channel. So if you are interested and you are having the first steps for the chartership, please go online and check for it. So Daniel, next question, quite a scary one because it's about challenges. So what are the challenges that you have experienced throughout your career journey? And most importantly, how did you overcome those?
I'm not perfect now, so I've still got a few more challenges. I think the biggest challenge that initially was adapting to the working environment, because at university, I always found that you worked on your own a lot of times. Even if you're in groups, you're doing an individual task. It's about proving that you know what you taught, know the knowledge or the application of it. However, when you get into work, it's a completely different environment because it's about delivery of a piece of work, a report, a calculation, a drawing, which can sometimes be a more team-led effort or involves communication with others. So one of the biggest challenges was kind of breaking out that shell and trying to kind of engage with a lot more people and talking to people about what they knew. As it's gone on though, it's a bit harder now. So it changes as you build a bit more experience, and people tend to come to you then to ask the advice. And it's the difficulty I think I find is what do I know and what do I don't know?
Yeah. I see. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. And I'm glad that we went through this topic because, I'd like to tell the next generation of civil engineers that we're all on the same boat and we are actually all experiencing the same challenges. I think like those challenges are part of the game, and perhaps overcoming them is what really make us progress.
Yes, yeah, it's part of development, isn't it? You're not born with all the skills, so you need to learn it, and I think that's part of what the chartership process is, to show that you're learning and you constantly are.
Yeah. So great. Thank you, Daniel. So coming to the end of our episode and like doing some final remarks and thoughts. So beyond everything that we have discussed, do you have any advice for undergrads and graduate engineers?
Try and get as much experience as you can, and I'd urge to try and read up about what you like and what you don't, what maybe career opportunities you'd like to go into. There's so many different opportunities. You don't want to go into something that you don't really like. And that's where work experience can sometimes be a bit of a good thing, because you can at least find out if you like it or you don't like it. And just try and talk to people and kind of get involved in ICE activities and presentations that are happening throughout the UK.
Yeah. Now, making it more personal, is there any piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Would be to kind of be a bit more confident and go and talk to others a bit more about their experiences and how to do things. I think that would have been a bit more helpful, and asking for help a little bit more as well. That would have been
great. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on your brilliant career. Best of luck on your future steps. And it was a great pleasure having you here as a guest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the SECED Talks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and you feel more confident in navigating your first steps in civil engineering dynamics. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest episodes.